So whenever you place a pixel-based image, a Photoshop image, over here on the properties panel, you got an option to image trace. So basically what image trace is going to do is it's going to take the pixel-based image and convert it into a vector-based image. The result is going to be something that's usually very posterized looking. So when we click on this, it's going to give me the choice of these various defaults. So let's say I'll go with 6 colors. Then it's going to evaluate it and reduce it to 6 colors. So 6 areas of flat color. Let's try it a little bit higher. Okay, 16. The higher the number of colors, then the more realistic it's going to look. Okay, let's say I go with that one. Okay, this is a 2-step process. Once you get the look you want, then you have to expand it. Right now, it is still live, meaning that you could continue to modify it. Right here, if you click on this one, this opens up the image trace options, and we can modify this. Like I could increase the number of colors right here, so I can make it more realistic looking. So we can change it to grayscale, for color, and so forth. But the point I want to make is that we can go back and edit this as long as it has not been expanded. Once we expand it, it is now vector shapes, and we can't use that tool anymore. I'm going to get my selection tool, select the background, and delete it. And let's place a background behind it so you can see what's happened here. So I'll make a rectangle, give it a color, and move that color behind it. Notice we do have the recolor artwork option. So I'm going to create a family group based on this color, this background, so that things work together. So a theme. So I'll open up my color guide and look at my themes here. I kind of like this one, so I'll add that. Didn't mean to add it twice. And maybe I'll try another one. Try something in the darks like that. Okay. So if I select this and recolor, this one's very close. I mean, this is the background color, so I'll change that one. And then say okay. Kind of like that. Okay, so I don't want you to use this technique on your next assignment, but you can use it on your final assignment for the class, which we'll talk about a little later. While we're here, I want to show you how to make text wrap around an object. So grab your text tool if you would, click and drag across the image, and you should get placeholder text, something like this. I'm going to make my text white. Okay, now I want this text to wrap around the figure. In other words, I want it to look like the figure is jumping through the text. So to do that, I have to take my figure and put her on top. So Command-Shift, right bracket, brings the front. So again, this stuff only works when you're in the same layer, because if you're in different layers, it won't work. So the type and your object have to be in the same layer. So with my object selected, then I'm going to go to Object, Text Wrap, Make. And there you see, it's moved the text around the object. So this is called text wrap. And if I move my figure, then the text changes. This is an important feature when you want to integrate the elements on your page. So often that's what we're challenged doing is that's one of our challenges, is to integrate the typography with the illustration, all the different elements so they look like they go together. Type too often appears to just simply be stuck on top and doesn't really relate to the image. This way, it's definitely relating to the image because the image is literally pushing the type out of the way. You do want to be careful with things like this. This doesn't work very well because it becomes very hard to read, having type like between the legs or in some small space. So what we could do is we could create a shape that is like the shape between the legs. And then we could group it, grab this one, select both of those, Command G. Then I can apply the text wrap to the group. I'm going to make this brown shape have no color and no fill, so you can't see it, but it's still there. Then I'll do the text wrap. And now it pushes it all the way out so that it's not going through the legs. So this would have been useful to know probably for your billing blocks on your movie posters. So you could just push the billing block out of the way with this thing. Okay. Now you can modify how far away from the edge of the image the type goes. So that would be under Object, Text Wrap Options. So this tells you, I'm going to click Preview, and we could lower it down, and it gets closer. Crank it up, moves it away. Invert the text wrap, and we have the text actually in the same space as our figure, which we don't want usually. Okay, so I'll say okay to that. Now, this is also how we would create elaborate drop caps. So let's talk about that for a minute, because it's something you're probably going to want to do on your storybook. You may. So a drop cap would be right here. Illustrator doesn't really give us a great way to do drop caps. I'm going to hold down Command Shift and the greater than button to make this large. In Illustrator, in InDesign, we could select this letter or this paragraph and say that we want the first letter to be a drop cap, and we can tell it how many lines we want it to drop down, 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever. We don't really have that option in Illustrator. So what I'm going to do is instead take this out, Command X, and I'll place it somewhere else. So I just got this. And then you could apply all of the fill and stroke things we talked about last week. So I'll just give it some. Now this would be nice, again, if I'm using something from my themes. So I'll do that, and then maybe I'll do a new stroke. Now here's, we could also add a brush to this, but I'm going to have to create outlines first. So let me add another fill, just so we can see it. This fill on the bottom, I will make white. And then I'm going to expand it using the path offset. Don't want it to be offset that much. Try 6, hit the tab key. Maybe less than that. 3. Okay. All right. So now I can come bring this down here and then apply a text wrap. And you see it's pushing it out of the way. Now the problem is, because the text creates such a large box that, I would like this line at least to come over here. Can't do that unless I move this all the way up. So one way I can control this a little bit better is by creating outlines of this type. So I'd go to Type, Great outline. And that loses the text wrap. So by playing around with the appearance panel, the brushes and so forth, we can get some interesting results here. It isn't as bright as I would like, so maybe I'll try this again. This below it. That works a little better. Okay, so then I would apply the text wrap. And I'm going to go to options and make this much less, like I'll make it 3. Okay. And then pull it down into here. So I have a little more control over it. Once I have created outlines, I can't change the font. So you may want to get the font and everything, you know, all set up so you're happy with it before you convert it to outlines. Any questions so far?
Hi, Daniel.
Yep.
How did you delete the background for the figure once you did the image trace again?
Okay, let me bring her in again. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is you have to expand it. And that converts it to vector shapes. And then you can select any one of the areas and just delete it. So let me put something behind here so you can see it. Now let's take the white arrow, the direct selection arrow. By the way, you could also make a selection like I've got, see if I zoom in here on her pants. All right, so I've got this color selected. I can go up here and do the same fill, and then I could change the color. So again, image trace. I'm going to choose what I want. Let's do shades of gray. Okay. And if I come on here, open this up, this will give me more shades, make it more realistic. Okay, and then again, I'll expand it. Now this one's got a lot of gradations in here that you don't see, but as I move over it, you can see how many are in there. If I go like this, select that. I'll try to do the select fill. Oh, this will get stuff inside here maybe. Yeah, it's okay. I'll put a color behind it. So I got some more cleanup to do, but what if I want to change the blend mode? Where do I do that? Who remembers? It's under opacity. So if we go to opacity, then we get the blend mode, and I can change the say to multiply. And that's going to give us a whole different look. It looks more like a duotone. A duotone is where you have one color and then black. So this makes it, this again helps integrate the object with the environment because of the color. But it's applying the color of the background. Maybe I'll make this, I think I'll give it a gradient. I'm going to go into my gradients. We have gradients of sky. So I'll choose one of these. Nice. You could, of course, use your gradient tool here and change this, something like that.